Hi, very good day to everyone. We have audience from all over the world, and very good afternoon, Dr. Rickaz, all the way from Milton Keynes, UK. As usual on Sunday, we have arranged this meeting, this B-TIC talk at Sunday. And today we have a special guest from the UK, Dr. Rickaz, MBBS, MRCS Edinburgh, CHM Urology Edinburgh, FRCS Urology, consultant urologist, and Dr. Bedford Hospital, UK. And thank you very much for your valuable time, Dr. Rickaz. Thank you. Welcome to the meeting. Hi.
Thank you, Hansi. Thank you for this opportunity. Actually, I've been thinking of something like this for long term because we get a lot of calls and messages from the people who likes to come to UK and ask about the situation here and the entry pathway. And also, I think this is a good opportunity to talk to a wider audience, and it'll be on recording. So I think if someone asks in future, we can refer them to this YouTube recording or wherever it is. Thank you for that. Yeah.
Thank you very much. So how is Milton Keynes now? What's the weather like?
It's good. It's good. We are enjoying our second week of summer.
The 2 weeks. You're heading towards your winter now. Getting chilled. Yeah, that's my late teenage city. I was there for about 14 years. Lovely city.
Yeah, it must have been.
Okay. So yeah. Right. Okay. So audience, let's see what Dr. Rickaz has for us today, and that's over to you, Doctor. Thank you.
Yeah, let me share my. Give me a second. Let me open my presentation and then share it. For some reason, I can't see my presentation. Give me a second.
Fine. Take it.
There we are. Okay. Can you see my slides?
Yeah, it's visible. Yes, we can see.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, everyone. Good afternoon from the UK. I'm happy to give this talk on how to succeed in a medical career. I believe that most of you have completed a MBBS and working as a doctor, and I also expect some of you might be junior doctors or medical students who is willing to see what is the future prospects in the western part of the world. Thank you for kind introduction, Hazeer. Before we get into the subject, I would like to tell something about me for the audience to know who I am and where I am from. I graduated from University of Sri Jawadanapura in Sri Lanka. And then I had only a brief period of work in Sri Lanka for a couple of years, and then I moved to Oman, initially as a GP for 1 year in 2011. And then I was able to get a position in the urology unit where I worked as a senior house officer and senior medical officer. It was a military hospital. I worked for 5 years. There are 6 years in total in Oman. And after completing my MRCS in 2016, I moved to UK to work as a registrar in urology, as a specialty doctor in urology. Mainly, I worked in Milton Keynes Hospital for 5 years, where I did my master's in urology and did my FRCS. So this is my 6-year journey in the UK. I would say after the on the left-hand side, you can see my MRCS graduation, then master's, a CHM degree from University of Edinburgh, and then FRCS in 2021. And finally, a couple of months ago, I started as a consultant in Bedford Hospital, close to Milton Keynes. Apart from my academic records, I'm involved in some of the Royal College and specialty organization, urology specialty organization activities. I'm a member of the Surgical Specialty Board of the Royal College of Surgeons of Edinburgh, where we discuss about the local curriculum and the training needs in the UK. And recently, from January this year, I have been elected or selected as the co-chair of the Intercollegiate working committee for SAS, LED, and non-consultant hospital doctors. This is the committee which looks after the training needs and the development needs for the non-consultant, non-training doctors in the UK and Ireland. And also, I've been working closely with British Urology Association in the steering groups. So I have a bit of experience in mentoring doctors in the UK. So I think I can pass on to you. In today's talk for the next 20-25 minutes, I would like to outline the career opportunities which is available for an MBBS doctor in Sri Lanka and abroad. I'll slightly touch on some areas in Sri Lanka which we are not going to go in detail. But the major part of our discussion will be to talk about the career path in the UK and how you can get the GMC registration if you'd like to come and practice in Sri Lanka, practice in the UK, and also what are the ways that you should follow if you want to become a consultant in the UK. You know, once you complete your MBBS degree in Sri Lanka, we all want to do a postgraduate. Let it be MD in surgery, MD in obs and gynae, MD in medicine, MD in pediatrics. That is the only goal. And if you can't get a place in these MD examinations, then you go for a diploma. I'm not going to go in detail because you might have more experience and knowledge about this than me, because I have never had a postgraduate exam in Sri Lanka. The other opportunities abroad, historically, I think for the last 1 decade, a little more than that, the Middle East was a welcoming place for the Sri Lankan doctors. I started my career as an overseas doctor in Oman, but I know people are moving to Bahrain, Emirates, and even Saudi Arabia. But the problem of the GCC countries is your growth. Mostly, you will provide a service-related job if you're going as a junior doctor. Then as far as your career is concerned, it's very limited. That is one of the main reasons why I thought I should move out of Oman and come to UK. And the second thing is like how many years you work. It doesn't matter. You won't get a permanent resident status of that country if your aim is to move out of your own country to get settled in some other country. The other option is Australia. Everyone knows that Australia is a welcoming country for international medical graduates. You have to do the AMC exam part 1 and part 2. It used to be easy to get a job after AMC part 1 in the general practice setup, but now things are getting a little bit tougher, obviously, with all this saturation in the market. And also then you have to go and do your part 2 examination and then get your permanent residency there. And the United States, you have to do USMLE. I have no idea about that because I have never researched into USMLE. Only thing I know that you have to do USMLE several parts and then you go and find a job. But from the friends and other social media groups, I hear that it's a bit difficult to get jobs after USMLE. I don't know how true that is. So the main area of today's talk is about the UK job market and how you prepare yourself if you want to become to the UK to continue your profession as a doctor. If you want to come to the UK, you should have GMC registration. GMC is General Medical Council, like you have SLMC registration in Sri Lanka. You should have GMC registration. There are several pathways that you can follow to get the GMC registration, which we are going to discuss now. One is a PLAB, Professional Linguistic Exams, and UK Foundation Program, which I will be talking about that. And you can do Royal College exams like MRCS, MRCP, whatever you call it. And there is a route called Medical Training Initiative, which I will be talking about. And also, if you want to become a consultant or a specialist in the UK, you follow a route called Portfolio Route. Currently, it's known as Hazeer, which we'll be talking today. What is PLAB? As I told you, it's a Professional Linguistic Assessment Board exam. This is the basic exam for a international medical graduate to get GMC registration, GMC license to practice in the UK. It's PLAB, it's not FLAB. Some people call it as FLAB. It's PLAB. And the good thing about this is if you are a junior doctor just passing out from your medical school, this might be an easy exam to do because the areas which is tested in the PLAB exam is almost similar to your final exam, but there are some elements of areas which includes the UK type practice. So we can talk about this during the discussion, how you prepare yourself for the PLAB exam. There are two parts. You have PLAB 1, which is a MCQ type exam, and PLAB 2 is a OSCE type exam, which is the MCQ. The PLAB 1 can be done in several parts of the world, but PLAB 2 exam, it's happening only in Manchester in the UK. So for the PLAB 2 exam, you have to come to the UK. One of the difficult side of it, apart from the exam itself, it's a very costly exam for someone who is from a country like Sri Lanka, India, Pakistan, or whatever. So the first part of the exam will cost around £250 from next year, and second part is £934. If you're from Sri Lanka, you have to multiply by 400. And apart from that, there are other costs involved. For example, if you are coming for part 2, you have to come to the UK, so the visa costs and the accommodation and the travel and everything is out of this budget. And also for the PLAB 2 exam, as I told you, that it has some areas tested in relation to the UK practice. So people often go for some training courses with various academies, which is again costly. Maybe one academy for 2 weeks course, it might cost you £600. So before you sit for the PLAB exam, you have to prove your English proficiency to the UK GMC. Traditionally, IELTS, International English Language Testing System, was the only existing test to prove your English language proficiency. But recently, for the last, I would say last 3 years, OET, Occupational English Test, is also accepted. If you are planning for to move, or if you're planning for these overseas exams, you might be familiar with this. So I'm not going to go in detail onto this, but the question is asked very often which is easy, IELTS or OET. I did IELTS back in 2016. My wife did OET, but what I hear from the people who have done both, they say OET is a bit easier. The reason is that area is tested is specific for healthcare, so the vocabularies, the words, and everything that is used is familiar to you as you have been practicing this as a doctor. And they say that the focus of a grammar is a bit less than the IELTS, which might be true, I don't know. And also, if we see that, I personally, I know some people who have failed, or who couldn't get the reliable score, requested score in the IELTS, has passed OET in the first attempt. But if you analyze the cost, IELTS is a little cheaper, £205, and OET is £329. If you take IELTS, you should have 7.5 overall band score, with 7 in each band. If you take OET, you have minimum of B score, which is equal to 350 marks. Having said that, since from 2024, the entire PLAB is going to be scrapped off, and then it's going to move to the UK MLA, which is called United Kingdom Medical Licensing Assessment. So I personally feel the areas which will be tested, or the knowledge you should show to pass this exam, will be equivalent to the PLAB, but the way that they conduct the exam might be different. This also will have 2 parts. One is the applied knowledge test, and the second part will be clinical and professional skills assessment. I feel that might be more or less similar to the OSCE type, but still we are waiting for the GMC to tell us what they are going to test, and still we don't know how much it's going to be costing for a candidate if they want to go for UK MLA. There is one more thing I just want to touch on, this UK Foundation program. This might not be relevant to someone who has graduated and then completed your internship in your home country, but if you have not completed an acceptable internship, UK Foundation program is handy. For example, like if someone has completed their medical graduation in, say, China or Russia, or in one of the Eastern European countries, and they couldn't do a accepted internship, still they can come to the UK, they can do the PLAB and get a license, but with limited registration. and they can come to the UK and they can join the UK Foundation Program. The Foundation Program is the internship back in Sri Lanka. So that is FY1, Foundation Year 1. But the thing is, if you have not done an accepted internship program, entering to the UK Foundation Program might be a little bit tricky and a bit difficult to get a placement because of large number of international medical graduates coming to the UK, number one. Number two, for the UK, if you want to enter the UK Foundation Program, your English requirement is a bit higher than the normal PLAB route. So you can sit for PLAB with say IELTS 7.5 overall and 7 in each band, and OET group band. But if you want to go for the UK Foundation Program, the requirement is you should have IELTS each band 7.5. And then if you do OET, you should have 400. Unless your English is extremely good, it might be a bit tricky for someone to get your IELTS 7.5 in each band in one sitting, or OET 400. It's not impossible, it's doable, but it all depends on how proficient you are in your English language. So my personal advice is, if you can do a internship outside the UK, an accepted program, yes, that is the best. You do it and come to UK and then start as a SHO level doctor and then carry on. But if you say, for example, like the dilemma comes is if you have done your medical degree outside the country, in China, Russia, or Eastern European country, and then come to Sri Lanka, your question is whether I want to do the ARPM and I do the internship in Sri Lanka, or do I have to move to the UK if you have a plan? That's the question. Like, if your MBBS agreed by the GMC, still you can come to the UK and aim for UK Foundation Program. But for the same reason I have mentioned about, it might be a bit tricky. The best thing is if you can do ERPM and then complete an internship in Sri Lanka, then you have done that. You come to the UK, join as a SHO, and then start your career from there. But if you find it difficult to find a slot for ERPM, or find it difficult to pass the ERPM in Sri Lanka, still you have a possibility to come to the UK, enter the UK Foundation Program, and then start your career as a foundation doctor, as an intern doctor in the UK, and carry on. I know there are people who have passed PLAB, no internship in Sri Lanka, did medical degree outside the country, and then finding a bit difficult to have that 7.5 IELTS. There are people, but if you think that you can do that, yes, you are most welcome. And there is another route. This is basically for little senior doctors who have some experience back home in the country. So this is your FRCS, MRCS route, if I call it simply. So GMC will accept some postgraduate qualification for the for GMC registration. So this qualification could be UK postgraduate qualifications or overseas postgraduate qualification. I'll detail that. The UK postgraduate qualifications like Royal College membership exams, MRCS, FRCS, if you are in emergency medicine, MChem, MCEM, MRCEM, or any Obs and Gynae Royal College exams, pediatric Royal College exams, whatever you name it, or even fellowship exams, like you have the FRCS international exams these days. They are also accepted for GMC registration. And overseas postgraduate qualification, GMC accepts certain overseas postgraduate qualifications. For example, if in Sri Lanka, MD General Medicine, MD General Surgery, MD in Obs and Gynae, and one more. So there are certain qualifications accepted. So if you log into GMC website and type as acceptable postgraduate qualifications, or even Google search acceptable postgraduate qualifications by GMC, you will have a list of medical qualifications categorizing by each country. So you will know that. There is another way to get GMC registration and practice in the UK, which is called Medical Training Initiative, is known as MTI pathway. So this is the UK government, or the Health Education England is helping the doctors from low income or underprivileged countries to come and learn the UK system. So the maximum time allowed is 24 months, 2 years. So this is not what do you call it? This is not a guaranteed job. So this is not a straightforward pathway to come to the UK. But if you have some postgraduate qualification, like for example, you have MRCOG 1, you are waiting for the other part, or MRCOG part 2, you are waiting for the second part, or MRCP 1 and 2, you are waiting for pieces. And then if you find a job through some contacts in the UK, they can inform the GMC that, okay, this doctor has some postgraduate qualification and some training. In the slide, you can read the requirements. This doctor has some training, and then we are happy to hire him for 2 years to give him training. But the agreement of this training initiative or this route is that at the end of 2 years, you are going back to your country. So this is not a permanent route to the to settle in the UK, because the visa you are given here is called Tier 5 visa, which is a temporary sort of visa for the training doctors or training initiatives. But if you want to come and settle in through the other routes, it's called a Tier 2 visa, which is a pathway for you to get your ILR, your permanent residency, in 5 years. Can you please mute your mics, please? Yeah, we can hear all your gossips.
Admin, can you please disable the option?
Okay, fine. So,
Admin, can you please disable that option, please?
Yeah, I could do that. Good.
Right. Okay. Right. Sorry about this interruption.
Sorry. So the medical training initiative, as I told, like the visa is given a Tier 5 visa for 2 years. Having said that, after you come to the UK on this visa, if your trust is happy to offer another job, you will be able to convert your visa to Tier 2 visa, and your GMC registration will stay as it is. So this is another route, but the catch here is finding a job through this program is not that easy. Because not all the trusts are giving opportunities for this pathway. The trust means the employers, and also most of the time, the doctors getting jobs through this pathway is hard to fill, or there are a lot of vacancies, or in some areas where the doctors can't go and work. So if there is any vacancy which they can't fill, they'll say, okay, we'll start a medical training initiative, and then they get the doctors as a workforce strategy. But this is also a good pathway. I personally feel like if someone is in the training program in Sri Lanka, you don't want to come through this pathway, because you will complete your training and then come as a full registered doctor in your specialty, or else most of the doctors in training in Sri Lanka are doing Royal College exam, MRCS, MRCP, or whatever that is for their specialty, and then you can get the GMC registration. So this pathway is not very attractive for the Sri Lankan doctors, but I know there are doctors from India and other part of the world. In Pakistan, we see a lot of doctors, or a number of doctors with this pathway. Okay, so the other question commonly asked is, can I become a consultant if I come to the UK? That's a very valid question, because all of us want to pursue in our career and to become a consultant in our specialty. The answer simply is yes, UK is very welcoming. If you can work hard, if you can work smart, you can become a consultant. So there are different routes to become a consultant in the UK. So these are the basic routes that you if you want to become a consultant, you should have your name in the specialist register. In the GMC, you have two types of registry. One is GMC registration with license to practice, and the second type is a specialist register. So to enter your name into the specialist register, you can complete a GMC approved training program, which is called a CCT, Certificate of Completion of Training. So that is similar to what you have in Sri Lanka, like you do your part 1 exam, you become a registrar, and then you work as a registrar, you do your part 2 exam, become a senior registrar, and end of the training, you are awarded a board certified consultant level. So that is similar to that CCT. Another training is, so this CCT is, you start from a core training in the UK, but if you have done your basic training, or if you have enough number of years of experience outside the country, and you come as an international medical graduate, and you enter the program, the training program in the UK as a specialty training at the ST level, specialty training level, meaning that you don't do your core training in the UK, you have done your core training elsewhere, and then come to the UK and enter as a specialty trainee. You are awarded something called a CISA CP, CISA competent pathway, but last 2 years, the CISA CP is made equivalent to CCT. And next is a CISA pathway, which is a certificate of eligibility for specialty registration. So, which I will talk about it later. So this is a pathway which you show the GMC that you are equivalent to the a local trainee with your experience and the training you got either outside UK or within the UK, which is called an alternative pathway to become a consultant in the UK. I'll talk about it later. That is one. And if you take as a GP, GPs in the UK is different. In Sri Lanka or in Asian countries, GPs, like any doctor can practice as a GP, but in UK is different. All the GPs here with independent practice are consultants. They should go through a training program, 3-year training program, and they enter into the GP register to practice as a GP. So any GP that you see in the UK, they are at a consultant level. So the GP, becoming a GP is a very welcoming field in the UK, because their work is sort of independent work, because you own a GP clinic, and then sometimes they earn more than a hospital doctor, but it's like a private business. Like you have your own private clinic in Sri Lanka, so you work more, you earn more, something like that. So that is more welcoming for the doctor. So there are a number of people, they do the GP training. And the good thing about GP training is the GP training is 3 years compared to the other specialty training, so that's quicker. And after the end of 3 years of GP training, you become a consultant with more than £100,000 salary per year. So those are some benefits which people are attracted to. And more than that, UK needs a lot of GPs all over the country. So that is a good way to pursue a career if you come to GP, if you don't like, or if you want a quicker pathway to become a consultant in the UK. And there's one more thing. Even before you come to the UK, you can get into GP training. There's a pathway. If you have a GMC registration, or if at least you have passed PLAB 1 and booked for your PLAB 2, you can sit for the GP training entrance exam, which is called MSRA exam. That is the exam to enter the specialty training. So there are some requirements for that. You have to have 3 years of foundation training program or equivalent, and then I think 2 years, sorry. And then you should have a form signed by your consultant, which is called CREST form, which is called Certificate of Registration to Eligibility to a Specialty Training. And then you can apply from your country. You can apply from Sri Lanka and then sit for that exam. And if you have got through that exam, and then you pass your PLAB exam, you get the GMC registration, you can directly come to the UK as a GP trainee, and then after 3 years, you become a GP consultant. This is a very good pathway if you are planning, or if you are interested to pursue a career as a GP in the UK, which we can talk in the discussion if someone wants to know more about that. So a little bit about UK training pathway. UK training pathway is a very transparent pathway. I would say, like if you work hard and if you work according to the guidelines, there are a set of tick box that you should do. If you're working towards that, you will definitely get your training. So I told you previously a core training. So this is about the internal medicine, but each specialty you have different core training requirements. So F1 is your internship, and F2 is sort of after internship, sort of SHO level. And once you complete your F1 and F2, you go through a competitive program and interview, and you have to do some mandatory requirement, and you enter the core trainee 1 or internal medicine year 1. And then after that, you do your core trainee 2, and some specialties you need CT3, which may be ST, specialty trainee 1. And then once you complete your core training, you have another interview or competitive process of entry, which you go into the specialty training. So this is for the medicine, but for the surgery, we call it ST1, ST3 to 5, 6, 7. So that is 5-year training. And then you have an exit exam in the surgical stream, which is your FRCS. Once you have completed that, optional, you can do a fellowship, and then you can become a consultant. A GP pathway, yeah, you finish your medical school, do your foundation training, enter the training 3 years, and then you're fully qualified as a GP. So now a little bit of a certificate of eligibility for specialist registration, which we call CSER. As I told earlier, this is considered as alternative pathway to enter the specialist register. So this is a pathway I chose, and I have submitted my application to GMC. I'm waiting for the outcome for the waiting for the outcome. They will tell me that what I should do. So this is basically, it's very laborious work compared to the training. For example, like if you are into the CCT pathway, you have a 5 years training. It's a very structured program. You have a support from your department, your deanery, your supervisors, because that's a training program. But the downside of it, for me at least, when I came, I had 6 years, 6 years of urology experience, and then after I came, after 2-3 years, I was my supervisors were happy for me to sign, for me to sit for the FRCS entry exam. So that is the time that if I wanted to go for the training, that is the time I would have applied for this. So I thought, like, when my supervisors are happy for me to sign, go for the exit exam, why should I go and enter the training and wait another 5 years? So I chose that I will choose the CSER pathway. But if someone is coming as a junior doctor from abroad as an IMG, you should aim for a training program. But if someone has considerable experience outside the country with your postgraduate qualifications, maybe you have your Royal College exams, then you should aim for a CSER pathway or an alternate pathway. So what we do in alternate pathways, we want to do all what a trainee does. We take their curriculum, all the assessments, if you're in the surgical stream, number of surgeries, the competency level, everything. You have to mimic their training needs, and you submit to the GMC. They will go through that. They will check with the local curriculum, and if they are satisfied, they will offer you the specialist registry. Then you can work as a consultant. But having said that, from November this year, there's a change in this pathway, which is going to be called portfolio pathway. But more or less, generally, it's going to be similar. But the current CSER has had a lot of issues in terms of difficulty to find or to collate the evidences to submit the GMC. We have been working on that for a long time, asking the GMC to make it easy. This is a good time for senior doctors with postgraduate qualification to come to the UK if you are planning to migrate and if you want to become a consultant, because the GMC in need of specialists and consultants. So that is one of the reasons why GMC want to make it easy for the specialist doctors who are trained elsewhere to come to the UK and get your specialist registration and become consultants. This is the right time, I would say, to come. And if you are planning to come, what are the things that you should do? We can discuss during the discussion. So things are going to be a little bit easier from November. That's what the general expectation is. So in summary, so that's all I have. Before we move on to the question and answer, in summary, I'm not an expert, I'm not an authority on this, but what I am talking today is from my experience as a IMG who came to the UK 6 years ago and undergone a difficulty of producing evidences and submitted my evidence to GMC to enter the specialist pathway, and also have done a master's degree in the UK and did FRCS exam within 6 years of coming to the UK and able to secure a consultant post in the UK system. So with that experience, and also I've been mentoring a lot of doctors who wants to pursue exams and come to the UK, and those experiences I wanted to tell you about that, and also If you are someone from Sri Lanka, especially since I know the system, if you want to come to, and more than that, I'm not someone who promote migration from Sri Lanka. That's not my role, but my role, and I think Hazeer would agree with me, role is to help people. If you want to come to the UK to pursue your career, what are the ways and how we can help you to make your journey easy. And if you're someone from Sri Lanka wants to come, there are certain things that you should do. You have to develop yourself. One is language, and the other thing is whatever you can do. If you can do a Royal College exam, that is the best thing you can do. I see many people in Sri Lanka, they prepare for the local post-grad exams, and then they are not able to succeed in that. And then they do second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth time. I have seen people, and then that's it. If you can't enter the local training program, that's it. The amount of time you spend, the knowledge you gain, it's a waste. I would say, like, with that knowledge, do a Royal College exam. I always tell my juniors, people who ask me, always do a Royal College exam of your specialty, of your preferred specialty. Then at least part of it, part 1 MRCS, section 1 and 2 of your MRCP. Just do it. Then you have upper hand in the job market if you want to come, or else if you can complete those exams, you get your GMC registration, come here, work as a specialist, and then do it. So don't waste your time and energy that you put to prepare for your local exams, and then the amount of knowledge you get. If the money is not a big issue for you, just do it and then come and do it. And if you're a medical student or a junior doctor planning to move to the UK or elsewhere out of Sri Lanka, choose your specialty correctly. We'll discuss that in the discussion. Thank you, Hazeer. Thank you for the time. I think I stick to time, half an hour. Yeah. You're muted, Hazeer.
I'm sorry. Thank you very much, Dr. Rickaz. Thank you for your valuable time again. And we have audience, doctors, and other interested parties. If you have any questions, you can go ahead. We can allow you to open your mic. Meanwhile, we were actually ending the message with this specialty. So now doctors, they specialize in different areas: cardiology, radiology, neurology, pediatric, pathology, dermatology, urology, so many areas. Then doctor, based on your experience, what is the best advice that you could provide these doctors on the factors they should consider when they make a decision to specialize practice?
Yeah, the first thing is your interest, because you can't do something if someone else is doing or your friend is doing. Like if you think that you are a born surgeon, you want to do surgery, you have to do surgery. And if you think that, okay, I don't want to go to theaters every day, then you do some other specialty. So that is, first thing is your interest. But if you ask me about the job opportunities and all, it doesn't matter. Once you pass your exams and once you have your necessary qualification, you can have jobs. But there are some areas that I would say, like from experience, I have seen the people are finding it difficult to find jobs here. One is, if you do your postgraduate in medical administration, community medicine, I have seen people who have come here for foreign training, and then they don't want to go back to Sri Lanka. They want to settle in Sri Lanka, in the UK for various other reasons, but they are finding it very difficult to find a job. And even in that case, they should do their plan and then get their GMC registration and start as a junior doctor. So it's very difficult to see people struggling in that way. So that's what I told at last. Like, if you're planning for a migration, choose your specialty wisely, because if you think that there are some entrance exams, easy to enter the PG training to come to Colombo, no, that's not the way that you choose. It depends on what you want. So I think community medicine and medical administration. Even recently, I met a person who did venereology. Is finding it difficult to find a job here. But in generally, surgical subjects and medical subjects, they are fine. You should be able to get a job.
Right, thank you very much. And there is a question on the chat box. Let me read that question for you. Sir, will the MRCP itself give us the GMC registration?
Yes. If you have completed all three parts, including PACES, and if you have your English language proficiency, you have 3 years to get your MRCS, your GMC registration through this MRCP route. Yeah, but of the Royal College exam. So if you log into if you Google it, accepted postgraduate qualification, you can find it. Yes, MRCP definitely, but you should complete it.
Fine, thank you. And other audience, if you have any questions, you can go ahead with. And while they prepare their question, I have another question. Now, we were focusing this topic to help people if they want to practice medicine in the UK mainly. But now there are so many doctors that they want to go for master's studies in the UK and then come back to practice in their own country. There are people at that term. So now, for those doctors, if they want to study masters, what are the options available? And then, is there any impact of technology on this? For example, now we are talking about FineTech, we are talking about EduTech, we are talking about cloud computing, we are talking about health tech. Any platforms that they provide to complete your masters of UK while you are in your country?
No, you can do masters. There are so many master degree online. For example, my masters, even though I was in the UK, it was a completely online program, 2 years program, completely online program. So there are master degrees offered completely online with various universities. But my question is why? Why do you want to do that? Because masters, at least it will cost £8,000 per year, at least. Somewhere around £7,000 to £8,000 per year. So if it is a 2 years master program, it will be £16,000. So it's a lot of money. So why do you want to do that is a question. If you don't want to come to the UK and settle, and you're not going to get GMC registration through a master's. So it all depends on what you want to do, and you can do masters from your own country. So to answer your question, yes, you can. There are online master degrees, but the question is why?
Yeah, thank you very much. And audience, any questions, please?
I think there is another question by someone. In what ways can we improve our CV to move to the UK as an IMG, like research publications, etc.? Yeah, that's a very good question, which I feel doctors from Sri Lanka, we are lacking. When you come to there are two ways. I would approach this in two ways. One is to get a job in the UK, number one. Number two, if you come to the UK, to enter into your training program, etc. So anything is important. So to get a job in the UK, so you can do a master's. That will be helpful. Otherwise, research publications always handy. If you can do a research from your country, or if you can have a publication from your country with your name on it, best is to have as a first author, but at least to have your name on it. That is really important. And also to do some audits in your department. So I don't know how much of audits are being carried out in our countries, but you can speak to your consultants. Do some audit. I'm not going to talk about what is audit. That is for your research. You can Google it. Audit is, in simple terms, audit is something that you do to assess your practice and to improve your quality of your practice. So you can do an audit, 1 or 2 audits, and have a flavor of audit, have some experience, because in the interview you'll be asked about the audit, to describe about an audit. So if you have done one, you can easily say that. So audit is one thing, and also teaching. So we do teaching in our countries, in the departmental meetings, and you do various kind of teaching, but what we fail is to document that. So if you do a teaching, document that I have done this teaching, this is what I learned from that, and get some feedbacks. You have feedback forms, you do your own feedback form or download from the internet. So once you've finished completed teaching, just give 2 or 3 feedback forms to the audience and get it filled, and then summarize it. So when in your CV, that you can add those things. So I have done these teachings, and then I have evaluated my teachings. And when it comes to the interview, you can talk about your experience in teaching and your evaluation. So teaching is important. Your audits is important. Your publication is important, and your leadership activities. We do leadership activities, medical leadership activities. For example, you manage your rota in your department, but you don't have any experience on that. And in your CV, I have seen CVs from people, they just put their academic qualifications. I have done this exam, I have passed this exam, that's it. But to come to the UK, to enter the NHS system, you have more than that, because it's a collection of things. It's not that you can operate, you can do a laparotomy, but sometimes you might not get a job, because it's not the only thing that the NHS expect from you. It's a collection of things. So do teaching, document that, and leadership activities. So when you prepare your CV, when you apply, you have to mention all these things to attract yourself to the employer, for you to get an interview invitation.
All right, thank you. Hope we have answered. And there's another question, sir. Could you please explain about MRCEM?
Okay, so this is the Royal College exam for emergency medicine. So member of Royal College of Emergency Medicine, like for MRCS, MRCP, this is MRCM. I think it was introduced maybe 7-8 years ago, maybe, because I remember the time I was in Oman, that was the time the emergency medicine was introduced as a separate Royal College exam. So maybe within the last 10 years, I would say. So that is for you to Google. There's a Royal College for emergency medicine. They have all the details. So this is MRCM is membership for the Royal College of Emergency Medicine. If you complete that, that will lead you to the GMC registration. And I would say, like, if you are interested in A&E job, do this exam, because you have a lot of vacancies in emergency department in the UK, and also you have very good support once you come to the UK. So if you have completed MRCEM, and then if you have A&E experience, you can easily, or there's a high chance that you can get a registrar job in the UK and emergency department. So if you get into that, the system is very supportive for you to become a consultant after a few years, consultant in A&E. So if you are interested in ED, then please do this exam. That will be helpful.
Thank you. We have another question from another doctor. Sir, if I just do MRCS from here, I think from Sri Lanka, without doing local surgical postgraduate training, will it be possible to enter UK surgical training?
Yes, of course, yes. So you don't need a local PG training to enter the surgical training, because in the UK, as I showed earlier in the pathway, it's very structured entry criteria if you want to become a trainee to enter the CCT training in the UK. So if you have MRCS, you directly enter to the ST training, specialty training. The pathways, there is no exam, but you have to maintain your surgical portfolio, which includes your publications, and it's a point system. It's an interview, it's a point system, and there are some practical aspects of questions in the interview. So the answer is yes. If you can do MRCS, you can directly get the GMC registration. You come here, you start as a SHO or a registrar, depending on experience back home, and then you can apply for the training. If you are aiming for that route, I would advise you should Google it, the requirement for the surgical training in the UK, and see what you can do from Sri Lanka. For example, you can do 1 or 2 publications. If you can do a master's, the master's has some points. It's not a must, but it has some points in the interview criteria. The publications definitely have points, and audits have points. So if you can do maybe a few audits and 1 or 2 publications, then come to the UK, then your journey will be quicker. The problem here is if you come without all these, then you have to spend some time in the UK to get all these things done to apply for your specialty training. So if you can do that in Sri Lanka or whatever the country you are from, then it's your journey will be quicker.
Thank you. Another question from Dr. Mariam. It's about pediatricians. How about the demand opportunities in the UK for this pediatrics?
So the job market, it's very unpredictable. It depends on the requirement. Generally speaking, NHS needs doctors, especially the doctors with experience. So it all depends on how you present yourself in your CV and at the interview. So I know a few Sri Lankan doctors, pediatric doctors who have joined recently within the last 1 year. 2 or 3 doctors have got places. So if you want to come, there's no there shouldn't be any hesitation. There are jobs.
All right, thank you. And there is another question from another doctor. I currently work as a officer in general surgery. I have an intention to pursue a career in orthopedics. And how about the selection process and the interviews on this? Can you please elaborate?
Yeah. So I can't see that. Can you read that again? I can't see. Oh yeah, I saw that. I'm currently a section of general surgery with the intention to pursue a career in orthopedics. Can you briefly elaborate in the section of yeah. So I don't know where you are now. If you have done your MRCS, it's different. If you have planned for MRCS, it's different. If you are just thinking of it, if it is just starting, that's different. Okay, let's put it in this way. So once you come to the UK, you can enter any surgical specialty. If you have MRCS, if you fulfill that entry criteria, if your portfolio is strong and if you do well in your interview, you will get it. It could be either urology, orthopedics, general surgery, colorectal, whatever it is. But if you have some experience, it's an advantage. But if you ask me, like, can I enter without prior experience? Yes, you can, but you have to work a bit hard. So my advice would be is if you want to do orthopedic, you prepare for your master's exam, then get some orthopedic experience in the place you work. Try to get a transfer, or at least an internal transfer to the orthopedic unit, number one. That is one option. The second option is, if you are still at the junior level, do your PLAB, come here and find a SHO job in the orthopedics, and then pursue your career. So if you, after you come here, either you can enter the CT program, or while working as a SHO here, you can do your MRCS complete, and then you can enter the specialty training program. Both ways are possible.
Right, and one more question. After passing the club 1 and 2, is it mandatory to have this 3 months elective in the UK to practice?
I don't know what you mean by elective. If you are asked, if you mean that the attachment, clinical attachment, it's not mandatory. Once you pass your PLAB, if you have GMC registration, you can apply for jobs straight away. But some people say like doing an attachment increase your chance at the interview, but it's not a mandatory. But yes, if you can do that, yes, it's advantageous.
Right, now there's another question here from a fresh doctor, I think. After finishing your internship program, is it the best way to select the PLAB or the postgraduate Royal College exams?
It depends on your need, to be honest. It depends on your need. See, if you want to stay in your country and then come after some years, few years, yes, you can do your Royal College exams and then come. And I would advise, like, whatever specialty you choose, you try to get a job in that specialty. So once you finish your Royal College exams, you have that number of years of experience in that specialty, so you can get a registrar job in the UK if you want to move. On the other hand, like, if you want to, if you're aiming to come as early as possible, then you can do PLAB. But generally speaking, both will take the same time, because now finding a date for PLAB 1 is a bit difficult. You might need to wait maybe 1 year to find a date for PLAB 1, and then another 6 months for PLAB 2, because you have to prepare for this exam. It's not a difficult exam, but it needs a lot of preparation to do the exam. I know I have not done PLAB, but I know from the people who have prepared for the exam. So you need a lot of preparation. So it might take at least 2 years to complete and find a job here. And if you are a junior doctor just after MBBS, planning for a specialty exam like MRCP, MRCS, I don't know how easy for you, because it's a specialty exam. You should have worked in that specialty for some time, So it might not be easy. It all depends on your individual circumstances and scenario.
Okay, I think the last question. I have MBBS, MRCS, Edinburgh. How can I find a general surgeon registrar post?
It depends on your experience, and I don't know where you are now. If you should apply through the, there are two ways of applications. One is you can apply through the NHS jobs. So if you Google NHS jobs, and then if you can search which type of job you want, and then you can shoot the application. And if the trust or if the employees are satisfied with the application, they will call you for an interview. Number one. Otherwise, there are agencies which you can forward your CV and they'll try to find a job for you from the agencies. But only thing is, agencies sometimes their options might be limited. They will, because usually the agencies, the employers will hand over to the agencies in an area where there's difficult to recruit. Maybe some areas in North, in Scotland, or some areas in Wales. So you might not be able to get a job through the agency in the main areas in and around London or close to London, but that is not a bad thing to do. I came through the agency at first 6-month job in North Wales. Then I got a job in Milton Keynes, which is just half an hour train journey from London. So I wouldn't say that finding a job through the agency is bad. It's good if you struggle to find a job. And if you have MRCS and if you're aiming for a registrar job, you should have surgical experience. And you have to prepare for the interview as well. Recently, I mentored one of our colleague, one of my junior colleague. He has been working outside Sri Lanka, but he had some experience in Sri Lanka as in the surgical unit. And then he moved outside Sri Lanka and worked as a GP and completed a MRCS. And luckily, he got a registrar job. So he didn't have 5 years surgical stream experience, but he got a registrar job. I mentored him for the interview and things like that. He did really well in the interview. So I think that is the reason why he got the job, and his confidence levels was very high. So still it's possible, but if you're working in the surgical stream with MRCS, it shouldn't have any trouble to find a job as a registrar.
Okay, right. And yes, another point, he has
general surgery experience since
2008. So it's about how many years? 15 years.
You should be able to. I don't know whether you have Sri Lankan postgraduate or
no.
Okay, so you have more than how many years? 15 years experience. So you should aim for a registrar post. It again, sometimes some trusts consider your experience after you pass the MRCS when they give you.
I passed the MRCS 2018.
So you have 5 years experience. So you should be able to get a good registrar post with a good salary. So you should be able to. Have you started applying, Butika?
Yes, at the moment I am in a GMC pathway. But the problem is when I go through the MRCS, I was in Oman. That was 2018. 2020, I came back to Sri Lanka. Now in Sri Lanka, I have only 3 years experience.
No, that's fine. That shouldn't be a problem. But GMC, I think you didn't get the GMC registration in 2018, right? That's what I understand.
No, I didn't apply those days, but now
have they accepted now? Have they accepted?
Still it's in the pathway.
Yeah. So that is another thing. Like if you want to get the GMC registration through this Royal College exam pathway, you should get the registration within 3 years of passing the exam. But if you have not got the registration within 3 years, it's not the end of the world. GMC will assess case by case, and if you can prove that that you have worked in that specialty, then they will offer. I think that's what you are stuck now, isn't it? So I hope you will get the registration. So once you got the registration, you can start applying for jobs, and you should be able to get a job.
Okay, thank you.
But when you get a job, just try to negotiate for a better salary. At least, I mean, when you get a job, like if you are a registrar or whatever the job, even the SHO, the NHS offer you a range of salary from, say, for example, from 50,000 to 80,000 per year. Okay. They will consider the number of years of experience. If you are joining as a registrar, number of years of experience after your postgraduate training, they will put it in that band. So my advice is always ask for more, little more, then they'll come up. Sometimes it's very reasonable. If you think it's a bit low, no harm in asking. Sometimes they will offer.
Okay, thank you very much.
No problem.
Thank you. Right. Any others? Any questions?
Maybe we can get a last question. I got a
Yeah.
job in vascular ST3 plus following MRCS. What are your advice that I should do following gain a training job? Yeah. Follow to gain a training. Yes, that's a good question. Like if you join as a ST level or a registrar level, if you are aiming for a training job, my best advice is in your department, go to a trainee and ask them, I want to enter the training. What is your advice? Because it's highly specialty specific. So if you ask me about the urology, I can tell you, but vascular, I don't know what you need in terms of the subjects. But in general, your master's, if you have a master's, it gives points, audits, yes, and publications. These are the areas that you get extra points. But my strong advice, once you come here, go to one of your supervisors, one of your consultants, or more than the consultants, best thing is to ask a junior trainee. They just passed the exams. Just ask them how did they develop their portfolio. Just go through that and do whatever they have done, just do by yourself, and then you should be able to get that. And after you come here, read the guidelines for the training program, because they are keep on changing. Whatever we are talking today, it might not be true tomorrow. Keep on changing. So once you come here, just go through the guidelines and then see what are the requirements.
Okay, so I think it is time to conclude. You may be busy. We have some appointments today, a weekend, family day, Sunday. Right. So thank you very much, Dr. Rickaz, for taking your time to advise, recommend, and consult these people who are starving to get some opportunities to develop their careers in medicine. And thank you, audience from all over the world, in fact, and so on. And we have another special program next Sunday as well. And if you need the recording of this, please send us a WhatsApp message, and we'll be able to provide you the recordings of this tomorrow morning. And our WhatsApp number is 0094 777 201515. Let me repeat it again. 0094, that's a country code, 777 201515. If you can send us a WhatsApp message, we'll be able to share the link of these recordings. And again, thank you very much. We wish all of you guys the best in your professional career. Have a good day. Have a good evening. See you all next time. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Yes, thank you very much.